Hi, kia ora, and welcome to Creative Connections, where we have beautiful, inspiring conversations with artists living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Jakic. Hi there, and welcome to episode 188. This episode was recorded in October of 2025 from my hotel room in Turkey, where I was staying at the time. So I'm now back in Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is lovely. And it's really great to hear this episode again. I think you're going to really enjoy it. In this episode, I speak with Mike and Linda Geers, the owners of Art by the Sea, which is an art gallery in Hurstmere Road Takapuna, which is in Tāmaki Makaurau Auckland. This is a really fabulous chat with two people who are very, very passionate about the visual arts in Aotearoa. Linda and Mike see themselves as conduits between artist and audience, and as kaitiaki or guardians of artists' work, making connections through art. We talk about how they came to purchase Art by the Sea in 2001 when it was in Devonport, the early challenges they experienced, and their move to new premises in Takapuna in 2021. Mike and Linda share how they choose an artist to represent, what they recommend to artists, how they like artists to approach them, what they look for in an artist's work, how and why they turn down some artists, what they expect from their artists, and how they respond to artists experimenting with new ideas. We discuss their yearly exhibition program, supporting charities through group shows, and the challenges of owning and running an art gallery. Linda and Mike generously share the rewards, honours and life-changing moments they have experienced as gallerists, who are deeply connected to their stable of artists, their collectors and their audience. There is so much great advice for artists in this chat, which I'm sure you'll find valuable. Ngā mihi nui, thank you very, very much to Mike and Linda Geers for coming onto the podcast. I absolutely loved meeting you, and it's been so nice since I've been back to actually see you in your gallery and see what you're talking about and meet you in person. So thank you to them, and thank you also for listening. Kia ora, Linda and Mike.
Kia ora, Mandy.
Lovely to see you and welcome. It's lovely to have you here, Linda and Mike as well, both of you here to talk about your gallery. And Mike, we have been talking for some time about catching up and having a chat, and I have interviewed a few of your artists as well. So it's lovely to finally have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's quite interesting, even, having a bit of a chat before recording about the history of the gallery and how you got started. I actually had my wedding reception upstairs at Duda's in 1995. So we've just celebrated our 30th anniversary. And I used to work across the road at the Masonic when I was in my 20s. And I lived in Devonport. My parents were in Devonport and I flatted in Devonport for about 10 years. I knew Art by the Sea down there and feel like I've got quite a connection to it. And, Devonport was such a big part of my life as well. And then you've moved to Takapuna. Art by the Sea was started by Bronwyn and Danella in 1991. And then you guys took over in 2001. So can you talk to us a little bit about the initial stages of that gallery, and then we can talk about the gallery that you run now?
So I come from an advertising background. So I had a business with my best man in Parnell, and we started that from nothing, and we started it primarily as a joke in a pub. We got drunk in a pub and decided, let's start a business. And 16 years later, it wasn't funny anymore. So it's fair to say that I reached burnout in my 40s and didn't want to do that sort of job anymore. It was just sucking the life out of me, and we had 3 kids and a mortgage. One day I really had burnout. I'd had enough, and I disappeared, and my partner couldn't find me, and he rang Linda and said, "Where has he gone? Shall we ring the hospital and everything?"
He hasn't shown up for work. Should we ring the hospital? And I knew that he hadn't been happy for a wee while. And I just said, no, I think he'll be fine. We'll give him a bit more time. And he rang me about an hour later and he was sitting on Cheltenham Beach. He said, I'm not going back. I've had enough.
He went across, I don't know where, walked past the gallery, looked at it and thought, oh, that's nice, and went and sat on Cheltenham Beach and contemplated my navel for a while. And then came back and said to Linda, I'm sorry, I know we've got this mortgage and these kids, but I'm not going back. Really? And it took a year for me not to go back. But in that time, I did learn a lot about historic and contemporary New Zealand art because one of our clients was the International Arts Centre. So I really cut my teeth on that period of time when that gallery had, was in its formative years. And then we were living in Mount Eden and we went to, we came up with, well, we're going to start this gallery. I wanted to start the gallery in Parnell. My business partner didn't want to, so we parted ways. Not that great, unfortunately.
Okay, so we saw that Art by the Sea Gallery was for sale, and we took a trip across and had a look. And we just kind of felt like maybe we'd prefer to start our own gallery from scratch. And so we considered we were living near Onehunga at the time, and there was the theatre there was for sale, and we considered that would be a place that we could potentially live in one part and have the gallery in the major part. So it was a huge undertaking. So we went and spoke to the lady from the Business Association of Onehunga, and she said, we would love to have you, but I don't know if we're at the place where you would be successful yet. Onehunga might not be ready, and I would hate to see you fail. However, I do know I've got a friend who is selling a gallery. She would be really helpful to talk to. Maybe go and have a chat. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to just give you some advice. And it turned out to be Bronwyn, who owned Art by the Sea.
Ah.
So somehow we ended up back in Art by the Sea again, several months down the track from when we'd first looked at it. She was really helpful, very friendly. And we just came home and we thought, that's bizarre. Fate has led us back there again. Maybe, and it is still for sale, and maybe this is something that we could work with. And we kind of just ended up back there.
So we bought it.
Bronwyn stayed on and
helped. And then so did one or two of the staff. And that's how it started. And we decided not to come in with all these big ideas and be like a new broom. And we just thought we would just try and, not tread water, but sort of run the place for a while and just feel our way around,
Mm.
And it turned out to be a trial by fire. In the first couple of weeks at the Tudas, the wedding reception area, the kitchen waste and disposal unit and sewage, essentially, dishwasher, everything collapsed, and all of that came down into the gallery.
Oh my God.
And essentially came down the walls and kind of flooded the gallery. And it had happened very quickly and very new. And it was terrible. It was like a disaster because there was raw waste, kitchen waste in the ceiling and everything. It was in the height of summer. It was really hot, terrible. And on top of that, it was so new that we didn't have business interruption insurance. So, we had to try and trade through that. And at that particular time, we had an artist who made sculptures out of copper, and we had a 2-meter marlin, lifelike marlin, hanging from the ceiling. and I sold that marlin, and the guy who bought it said it even smells like a marlin. I had to tell him what the smell was. But we had to have the whole ceiling ripped out and rebuilt and have scaffolding inside the gallery. And, we would come home at night and think, God, what have we done?
Yeah, I bet.
But we got through that calamity, and that pales in significance to all the other calamities, really, doesn't it? The previous job I had was a job. And people often ask me about this. This isn't a job. Never would I have had the experiences that I've had or that we've had that have enriched our lives in so many different ways. That's very hard to explain in a short conversation. But hopefully we'll be able to put that down in words.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's really interesting, Mike, that you went through that kind of experience with advertising. And there's so many of my guests including Kirsty Nixon, who is one of your artists, who have been involved in that advertising world, who have ended up feeling like that. It feels like it is an industry that sort of tends to crush people at times, some people. And then taking on a new business is a big risk. How did you find that? After being a bit fragile mentally through the advertising, how did you find the challenge of a new business?
That's a good question. Just a breath of fresh air, because I'd be dealing with corporates and advertising and promoting products that I didn't ethically agree with, just for the sake of the dollar. And come back down to earth, and you're meeting real people, artists. You're helping promote them, and what you do literally will help them, in some cases, put food on the table, sort of thing. So the responsibility is you're actually interactively dealing with these people, whereas with the advertising thing, you're making products, and you don't really know what happens with that products because you're removed from that. You just got to do what the brief and what the marketing manager wants, and that's it. You're just designing. Yes, it's real, and you can see it happening. And in that first year, there was a really significant thing that happened to me, a significant sale that happened to me that was really, I still think about it now, 20 something years later, and think that's why I'm doing this, or why I want to continue doing this. And it was, we had an artist that I didn't even know him. I knew some of the artists in the gallery, but I didn't know this guy. And he walked in, and he just looked like this real vagabond, And he came in with this painting, and it was a very Van Gogh style painting of Toka, which is a mountain in Uruguay. And he painted this mountain with this like gigantic sort of, peak, and then this really Van Gogh moon, and the swirling starry night, and these reeds from the upper Kaipara Harbour, the river, and it's just, I've always been a fan of Van Gogh, but I saw this and I just, that's so cool. And then his story was that once every month, the moon and the mountain, they meet and they have this conversation. I thought, that's really cool as well, and that sold it to me. And I said, yeah, I'll try and sell it for you. So, it was a lot of money, and I put it up on the wall. And almost within a couple of days, this lady came in, and she just stood in front of this work and stood there for minutes, hours, sometimes, not hours, but a while. And I hadn't done retail at all. I'd never done retail. It was always business to business. So I was really unsure of how to talk to this lady. But in the end, after the second or third day, I plucked up the courage and went to talk to her. I said, what do you think of that work? She says, I love it. I've got to have it. And I said, oh, well, I can't afford it. And I said, well, just randomly thought, well, okay, maybe we can do a payment scheme, would that be cool? Would you ask the artist? Sure. So I made it happen. And I said, why this particular work? Oh, I've just lost my nephew. He died in a motorcycle accident. And part of his, he was Māori, and part of his initiation was to spend a night in a full moon on the top of that maunga.
Really?
So how cool is that?
Wow.
So I thought, wow, I'm present with this. And the really cool thing is the artist and the person who bought the work were virtually neighbours. They lived almost, in the same street, not quite exactly in the same street, but they never met before and they've never met since. And we facilitated that meeting of two people who had different needs and different wants. And we were that bridge that brought those two people together. And that was the first, and there's been numerous occasions since where that's happened, but it's pretty cool to watch, or to witness.
Yeah. And it seems like you are very passionate about those kind of connections and building that kind of community sort of within your artists, but also within, you and your audience or your clients, which I imagine is quite intimate and special.
It is. I was talking to somebody this morning about that. People can buy anything. You can buy art. You can buy anything from anywhere. You can buy it online. If they buy it from you, they buy it from you. So you need to be authentic. You need to have integrity, and that's why I don't think I could sell real estate. I couldn't sell cars. I believe in art, and I believe in artists, and I believe in the inherent ability for New Zealand, for people to be able to communicate to each other, sometimes without words. And wow, art's a great vehicle for that.
It absolutely is. Yeah, that's a really nice story. Thank you for sharing that. So let's jump ahead to 2021. I mean, I'm sure there are lots and lots of stories between, when you first took on the gallery and when you moved to Takapuna, and some of those might come up. But you decided to move from Devonport to Takapuna. Can you tell us why you decided to move and what caused that move?
We didn't decide to move. We were in an beautiful old building in Devonport, and that needed to be earthquake strengthened because the new owner of the building put apartments upstairs, which meant that the building needed to be earthquake proofed. And in order for that to happen, it was major construction, and we had to move out. So he felt it may not be very long and we could come back, but we had the feeling it was going to be a lot more involved than that. And it was. It took a few years for him to get that project completed. So we moved to Takapuna.
We thought, oh God, we're going to go somewhere in Takapuna temporarily and then in Devonport temporarily. And we looked around and we couldn't find anything. And we go, what are we going to do? Are we going to go online or what? And one of our artists said, and that's Christian Nicholson, he said, I've always thought that where we are now, that area would be a great place to have a gallery. We mentioned that we had to move, and he said, I always thought this would be a great place. So, okay, well, so it was late, and I went home after he told me that. And as I drove home, I thought, I'll go that way and just have a look at that area. And as I looked at that area, there was this sign,
for lease.
Building for lease. Space for lease. this is weird, Anyway, I rang Grant, our landlord, and he had that place vacant for a year or two. This was also in the middle of COVID. And so Christian didn't even know that it was, vacant or anything like that. But he wasn't, indirectly responsible for us getting this space. Also, lovely place, Devonport. It's a beautiful village and a gorgeous place, but quite difficult to get to.
Yeah.
And particularly in times of COVID, and this place is far infinitely more accessible. But it was really hard leaving that building because it had so many stories and so many memories. And we have a wonderful rangatira, a special Māori artist that several Māori artists, but one in particular who did a blessing for us when we left, to bring closure to what we'd achieved there, and then a blessing when we arrived, which was really cool, and that helped. That helped that transition. That was Naivi Walker.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's lovely. And that space, is it at the top of the road that goes down to the beach and the Takapuna Beach Cafe? Is that where it is on that corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually been in there, weirdly, but that seems like such a perfect place. And, Art by the Sea, it's nice that you're kind of you're continuing that connection with the sea in a way. And then there doesn't seem to be a lot of other galleries like that in that area, is there?
No.
I don't think there are any, are there?
No, there isn't. No,
which is amazing for you.
Yeah. People have often suggested that, you should change the name of the gallery. We had Mentor suggest that, and also advertising execs say, you should come up with a more modern, hip name. Never worked, eh? It never worked.
We did pay someone to try and do that. We talked about who
Branding.
we were, what we were wanting it to achieve, what our ethos is, and he came back with some things that did not fit that at all. So we have considered that, but we just thought, it is what it is, Part of our story. So
exactly, and it does, it definitely feel a big part of your story. And you were saying earlier, Mike, that you don't necessarily refer to your space or to your business and what you do as Art by the Sea Gallery. You think of it on a more sort of more holistic terms in a way. Can you explain what you were thinking about there?
Yeah, so that story I told you before, there's been numerous occasions where we've brought people together, and so the term gallery, it seems like it was lacking. And also there's this sort of persona about galleries and dealer, and that, you must know what art is, and that, and we bring people together. And I sort of look at it as an analogy that there's an artist, and most artists are reclusive. They create their work in their own little world, in their own room, and they squirrel away and they come up with something, and they're usually, they've got the shutters on and they're really passionate about what they're doing. And then they finish this body of work, say, now what are they going to do with it? And so they go and they call galleries up, or they go and try and show people, because inherently they want to be seen. They want their fruits of what they've labored on, they want it to be seen. And so they come and see us or other galleries, because that's generally how it works. And then we facilitate an area where there are people who come into the gallery, and the common thing is, common question is, can I help you? Are you looking for something? I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah.
And we could leave it at that. But sometimes people will come and they'll see something and they'll stand in front of it, whatever that may be, and they'll connect with that person vicariously through what that person has created. And it's fascinating to watch because you'll see them walk around. They always turn left in the gallery, always come in the door and they turn left and they go around, and then you'll see them come back around and they'll look at that and they'll go off, and then they'll come back, and you'll know if you're aware, and if you bother, you look and you see they'll stop in front of this piece, and sometimes they'll come right out and they'll say, I don't know why, but
it's connection.
It's connection. Now, that's not anything you can write a formula for in a sales thing or whatever. It may sound esoteric, but I believe the artist has created that piece and given something of themselves into it, and that piece has that energy around that piece, whatever medium it is. And it just so happens that that person has connected with that work, and this is nothing to do with, will it match the curtains or does it, well, I'll have to check with my designer to see if it fits or anything like that. These two people are communicating with each other. We're facilitating that.
We're the bridge.
We're the bridge that brought those two people together. And that's why I just don't think the word gallery is enough of a word to, describe that.
Yeah.
That feeling.
I can understand that. Maybe you need to think of a new word, another word that does it for your gallery, and that
speak to our daughter.
Yeah, that other people can end up using. But I love that, and you're sort of almost seeing yourselves as kaitiaki, of guardians of the treasure of the taonga.
We have a piece in our gallery which is sculpture by Joe Kemp, and it's Te Wā Kokore, and it's a big kauri head, and it is our kaitiaki. We had a female piece, but we sold that to Papatua Nuku. Off every morning I come in and I hongi and I greet that piece, and I acknowledge that we are kaitiaki of these pieces. So we have to be respectful of them, knowledgeable. A lot of our artists will say that, we know them intimately, because people are interested in, how did you create that? What were you thinking about? I'm interested in knowing about this person because I'm going to pay whatever to have that person come into my life, into my home, into my whare, and I want to know who this person is. So, so you're right, we are kaitiaki.
Yeah, and that's really special. And I love the way you're talking about your gallery and your space and your people. And, I think that is something that you bring to what you do that is probably quite unique and special.
Kia ora, thank you.
Okay, so let's just go to the actual gallery space. Can you talk to us about where you are exactly, even though we've touched on that, and what the space is like, and then we can get into more of the nitty-gritty.
We are on the corner of the promenade and Hurstmere Road. We are just a few metres down from the Bruce Mason Theatre. If you're driving through Takapuna on your way to Milford, you can't miss us because we're right on that apex. The space is smaller. It seems like it's the same, but it's actually smaller than the building that we were in, which had a 3-metre high stud. So this is smaller.
It has its different energy.
And it has its different, it's a different geographic setting. We can still see Moana, we can still see the sea. But we are again a corner gallery. Out by the sea in Devonport was a corner gallery, so people, there's glass on one corner and there's glass on the other, so they can see right through. You can't hide from, unless you go into the bathroom, you can't hide from people.
It's also not in the centre. So in Devonport, we weren't in the middle of the the commercial area of Devonport. We were along the road, and it's the same situation here.
Yeah, we're fringe dwellers.
We quite like that.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic spot to be, and it's great to be near the Bruce Mason Theatre because you have, people coming there as well and can see your gallery and people who appreciate the arts, which must be a nice connection for you.
Aye, yeah. The space you have to be clever with because it hasn't got the same walls. So we've got mobile display units, and you have, but then from a exposure, it's huge. Thousands of cars go past that gallery every day. Parking is easy. Loads of people walk at all hours of the day. 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, we'll get emails from, in odd times. Oh, I've just seen this, or, texts or whatever. So, yeah, from an exposure perspective, it's great. It's really good. And that's important, obviously. But it's great for our artists, our whenua, our people to be able to show their mahi and get a chance at a lot of people seeing their work. It's great.
Yeah, it seems like the most perfect spot. Yeah, it's great that you found that. So speaking of artists, you're a tangata whenua, your people. Can you talk to us about, or can you describe your current stable of artists? I know that you do have some artists who've been with you for a long, long time, which says a lot about what you two are doing. But can you give us a little description of your artists in general?
They're great people. They all have their own reason of being, of why they create what they create. Quite a diverse range of work. Some people are originally from other places in the world, so they all have their own backgrounds and their own need to create. From different areas of New Zealand, so they have their own landscapes that they're inspired by and their own stories. I guess we're conveying their stories. We're helping them convey their stories.
Yeah. Sorry, you have a lot of paintings and sculpture. Do you have anything else like ceramics or any other work?
Lots of ceramics. Yeah, we have a significant amount of ceramics because we're Linda and I are interested in ceramics. I guess the artists we have, a lot of them a significant amount of them have been with us, but we also take on emerging artists when we can. And that maybe that leads into the next possible question is like why have we got these artists? How do we choose an artist? We are interested in them and their story. And are they telling something that's unique or interesting, or is their life story? Why are they creating art? What is it about them that is intriguing? Our stable of artists is not Linda and I's taste. Say, we love all the artists, we love their mahi and their work, but it's not just about you must like this. We talk to these artists and we get a sense of what they are saying, and we feel that's an important story to tell. It's a part of Aotearoa. It's a unique part of Aotearoa that I feel passionate that, hey, this is something that I want to tell the world about. I want to shout it on somewhere. I want to go to I wanted to go to the other end of the world and say, hey, look who's producing this in a wee little town at the other end of the world. Look at this. This is unique. I've never seen anything like this before, and I have seen a lot art in my time, a lot.
And you take your whānau of artists, so seriously, and obviously you want to get the right fit, not only for your space, but with the people as well. So can you talk a little bit about your process when you meet a new artist or see some new work for the first time and consider taking them on into your gallery? Linda.
Well, if an artist contacts us and wants to show us their work with the idea of coming into the gallery, being part of our group, I guess, we generally ask them to bring some historical work as well as what they're currently working on, so that we can get an idea of where they're coming from and their story, see where they've progressed to now and where they may be aiming to go. So we will have a body of work along the side of the gallery wall that we can consider. I suppose that would be the way we would do it.
Yeah, and that's a really good idea, seeing historical work. I haven't actually heard of that. I think that's a really good idea. What are you wanting to achieve by doing that?
So I like to see where the artist has been, where they are now, and try and get a glimpse of where they want to go to. And that can give me a kind of a timeline. And then I can see, okay, I've seen where you've been, I've seen, historically work, and I can then understand the artist better. It's so difficult to have an artist come in and say, have a look at this, will you put this on the wall? And, it has no context. And we don't just sell product. We don't sell product. We don't put things up on the wall, see how it goes, suck it and see. If we take on an artist, it's because we're 100% committed to telling their story, because we think their story is interesting, and we feel that our people who support us and new people will find that story interesting as well. But it can be unnerving. I accept that it can be unnerving for artists to and I totally understand that when artists, it's really
it's a brave thing to do.
A brave thing to
go
do.
Into a gallery with your work, because it's you. It's part of your soul and your heart and your story. And
And I was made aware of this by one of our artists. Really lovely gentleman, senior man. I respect him a lot. And we had an exhibition, and we talked about when he first came into the gallery, and he's a senior artist, and he's a highly respected artist. He's a teacher. He's a highly respected teacher in tertiary art. So when he brought his work in, and I did my thing where I was quiet and I just stood there and looked at the work for a while, trying to absorb it all, and he just said, "What's wrong with this guy? He's not saying anything." And then he took his work back and he went home to his wife, and his wife said, "How'd it go?" And he said, "I don't know. Guy didn't say anything." And then, but he wants me to come back with these works. So he came back, and over a period of time, eventually, we established this rapport. But he says at the time, "You just didn't say anything, Mike. You didn't say anything." And I said, "Well, Paul, I was just trying to be respectful and just take it all in and understand and everything." And my wife would say, "For God's sake, just say something. Anything. Just give them something."
So basically, these poor artists would come in and put all their work around the wall, and then Mike would stand there and just look at the work. And the artist would be standing there waiting for him to say whether he liked it. And I would try and say what I felt, but time would drag on and Mike would still be standing there. And after they'd gone, I go, "What are you doing?" They're suffering, these people, because you're not giving them much feedback. And he said, "Well, I just want to give it the time that it deserves. They've put maybe months of work into this work, and the least I can do is look at it properly and really..."
And I'll come up with some flippant adjectives and say, "Oh, that's great," or something like that. I'd like to, because it would be, not authentic. Yeah.
I'd say, "How about you go for a coffee and we can really have a look at the work.
Yeah, you're being very considered, aren't you, Mike? I suppose. And
Yeah.
what when you're taking that time to really look closely, what are you actually looking for?
Well, so I'm a painter as well. I did do art, and I don't paint a lot, but I look at paintings. But I also I try to see what's overt and what's not overt. So sometimes, the artist will bring in work, and there's a really good story about one of our artists about this, that they bring in work and they think, oh, he'll like this. This will sell, and this is this, and oh, look at that, and then what about that? What's that about? And I want to see the whole story, because that's the thing, that there's so many different facets to creators, and sometimes there's something that is staring them in the face, and they just don't know about it until they have. I don't want to sort of push my own thing, but I've seen a lot of art. I've seen a heck of a lot of art. I absorb it and I think about it. I read art books. I'm the most boring person on the planet. And I can sometimes see things that artists aren't aware of about their work. And I can, see that and say, hey, have you thought about doing this more? Have you thought about pursuing that? Because I'm really interested in that facet. And there's several artists in the gallery who've changed their entire their entire process, everything, because of me saying one little thing. So that's also a huge amount of responsibility. But I can see them sort of on the fringe of something and thinking, you should go that way. And
yeah, that's interesting. And so what happens if one of your artists starts experimenting and trying new things, and you're not really loving the way they're going?
It's not about us loving it.
Yeah.
It's not about us loving it. It's about, are they being authentic? And can I see that as you're being true to yourself? You're not trying to cater to a market. You're being true to yourself, and I'll support that 100%. Even if I don't really like is such a trite word, but even if I think, if it hasn't worked, if they're trying something and I can see, no, it's not quite working, then I might suggest that. But if they say, that's it, this is me fully expressed in this particular path I'm traveling, I'll support it 100%. And it might not sell. But if they're being 100% authentic, we've supported artists. We've pursued and supported artists because we believe in their story, and sometimes it takes a while for other people to see the light and say, "Hey, actually, that's quite good." And our most successful, or so supposedly most successful artist, how long did it take for him to get recognised? And it wasn't a New Zealander who recognised him.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it must be an interesting juggle and sort of balance for you, weighing up all of those ideas that are really important to you with actually making sales, which is a consideration.
Definitely.
That's why we aren't driving flash cars.
I did hear somewhere that I think Scott Laurie said it actually, that gallerists are never very rich. Like, people seem to think they are, but there's a lot of gallerists like yourselves and like Scott are so passionate about what you do. Sometimes it doesn't translate as making shitloads of money.
You do it for love, really. It is a passion. It's a way. It's a life. It's a way of living. It's not a job, really.
Because we do what the artists do. And what did I say? I said it to Joe the other day, I think. I love I want to experience what it's like to be a starving artist. He says, well, you're doing that, bro.
Yeah. You're doing a good job at that. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think people do have a perception of gallerists,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily accurate.
Yeah, but we are rich. Don't get me wrong. We are rich. We are rich in
Just not
experiences.
financially.
Not financially, but rich in experiences and things that you can't put a dollar value on. The things that we've experienced in this gallery, in our life with this gallery, is so, rewarding. You just can't, we've been witness to life-changing experiences that, an example is I was in the gallery by myself in Devonport, and I got this phone call, and I was about ready to pack up and go, and this woman rings and said, "Are you still open? Are you still open?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine. I want to come down. Yeah, sure, I'll be here, open." So this couple came in, and she clearly she'd been in hospital. She had a scarf on her head. She was in a dressing gown. Her husband was, helping her into the gallery. And, it was fairly obvious what she was dealing with, and also became more obvious how imminent it was going to be. And I said, welcome to the gallery. You can't sell anything to that person. You can't do a sales pitch to that person. You just have to be present. And she said all she was thinking about, lying in hospital, pumped up with chemo, I have to go and see that gallery.
Maybe.
It's, what an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And I think that it is quite special that you guys are sensitive enough to go to those sort of places rather than thinking always about the sales. And, it does feel like you've created something that has quite a different ethos that you really honor in so many different ways.
The best thing about having a gallery is the people, really. We've become really close to many of our artists, probably most of our artists, probably all of them in some way, and also clients. We've made long friendships from people that where our paths have crossed. And we've met people from different cultures and faiths and backgrounds and with different stories, and it's been quite an honor to be part of their story, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's so special. What a fantastic job you have, and what a fantastic job you're doing. So, Linda, can you talk to us about how you prefer artists that you don't know to approach you in the gallery?
Well, from experience, the best thing for an artist to do when they're approaching a gallery is really contact them and make an appointment. Just because we've had, over the last 20 odd years, we've had people just bowl in. And from that, sometimes we've had that happen, and we've just, it's been great. The work has been great and it's all worked. But it's very tricky when you're running a gallery and people just bowl in with like 10 paintings and want you to immediately drop everything and give you attention, especially if you're there on your own. So if someone makes an appointment, and you can set aside time, you can make sure that there's more than one person there, so that, because your priority is to the artist you already have. Actually, you've already made a commitment to them, and you want to be able to focus on promoting their work and selling their work and dealing with clients that come in. So if you're going to be taking on a new artist, you want to be able to give them their work the respect it's due. So you want to be able to focus on their work and focus on their story.
Mm.
You either want to set aside time out of gallery hours, or you want to have a couple of people there so that you can do both. You can sell work, give your clients the attention that they need, and focus on the new potential artist.
Yeah.
So it is quite tricky. People just arrive and want you to look at their work.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what is your sort of attitude or your process for turning artists down?
That's sometimes challenging.
It is challenging. We get
it's always challenging. Actually.
We get approached a lot, and we have around 60 artists already. So we can't, we can't spread ourselves
physically don't have
too
the room.
thin.
Yeah.
But also, it's also not always. Sometimes I will see work and I think, wow, this is great, and it probably will sell. But I will also be honest and say, we're not the right gallery for you. You can do better here or there. And I will write an introductory letter to another gallery or another place and say, I think you should go to this place.
That's so nice.
And then, but we're not about that. We're not about selling product. And I think, that's equally as helpful.
Yeah.
To the prospective artist, because they don't know, and 9 times out of 10 artists, some artists anyway, they see, oh, you've got this great physical space, you'd be great for my gallery, for my art. I want to show my art there because there'll be thousands of people looking at it. But that's not the point. Is it the right people that are looking at it? Is it in the right context, in the right environment? And do the people that are promoting the work, will they get it? And there is some work that our gallery won't suit, it's just because of our environment and what we are, but that doesn't mean that we're rejecting the artist. We're just saying, I think you can do better. And this is where I think you should go.
Is that about audience as well as space, or is it also about, are you also considering the artists that you already have and the type of work you're showing and how that sort of complements the work that you have already?
No, I don't agree.
Sometimes, if someone's doing a body of work and it's very similar to an artist we already have, then it's pointless.
Okay,
really.
That's true. Yeah.
Showing that work as well. It's not going to be fair on your existing artists that's already doing that kind of work. They're better to take their work to another gallery and it will be something new for them.
Yeah. And how much are you actually considering your audience and what they're up for?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people ask us that, our audience. And we have, it's arguably, we have a large following, but I can't categorize them. I can't do that. I can't say, oh, they'll be interested in this, they'll be interested in this. They'll always surprise me. The guy today bought a work and I wouldn't have picked it, and he bought it, and I knew he kind of liked it, but I didn't think he'd go as far as buying this work. And it was surprising. And that's, you just cannot categorize people. So our audience they have diverse tastes. So, but that's maybe not a really good business response to that question. I don't think, okay, I'm going to take this work on because our audience will appreciate it and it'll sell. I come back to, is this story that you're telling me about what you're doing, is this relatable? And not just to the people that come to us, but new people, because we're getting, again, a lot of other people as well.
So just continuing on with that chat about, meeting new artists who want to show work in your gallery, what do you do when the person has never exhibited in a gallery before, how do you, what's the kind of conversation you have with those people, even if you're not really interested in taking them on into your gallery?
I think you have to be really mindful of people's feelings, and I think it would be very, very easy to destroy someone, destroy their confidence, and potentially even stop them creating if you didn't give a little bit of respect and time. And I think sometimes people just don't know where to start. So they come in somewhere. I've had instances where someone's come into the gallery and they say, I've been painting, I've got all these paintings that I've made, and I think they'd be great on your wall. Would you show my work? And if you ask, have you exhibited before? No. How long have you been painting? Or a year, or for the last few months, or whatever. And they just don't know where to start. So I think it's important to be able to give them some direction.
What I would really advise artists to do is not just look at the gallery with the big walls and in the highest profile place. And I really try to say this to emerging artists and new artists. Do your research. Find out about the gallery rather than just randomly going and saying, oh, that gallery is in a high profile place. I'll go and see them. Find out about the gallery. Find out about the people that run the gallery. Find out about what they do in the community. How active are they in the community? What would your work be like exposed to their audience and in their community? And what are they like as gallerists? And do that. And it may be that the work that you want to show should be in a gallery that's in some off the beaten track, but has a really cool following. It's got a really good body of work, and your work would fit with that. Instead of in the, a high profile place or a high exposure, because it's really, in art, as in a lot of things, it's really true about less is more.
So I think maybe starting with a community gallery, joining a group of like-minded people who are creating art in a group where you can get some feedback, get some potential mentorship, learn to exhibit, but more with the group, so you're not kind of quite as exposed at the beginning, and get a little bit of exposure that way before you approach an established gallery as such. So you can get you can get some direction and get some feedback, maybe sell some work so your confidence is increased. Yeah, start there and then move forward through the gallery process.
Yeah, I love that idea.
So that people can, increase their practice, their awareness, practice their work.
Yeah, and increase their confidence and experience. Yeah, I really agree with that. I have so much respect for what community art galleries do in that way. The amazing opportunities for especially new artists, and for everybody. And for some people, even if they've been painting for years and years and years and they're amazing, that's the kind of gallery they want to stick with. They're not looking to be represented by anybody else. And do you think of yourselves as a dealer gallery as such? And what do you actually think of that term?
Well, no disrespect to dealer galleries. We don't deal, again, we are kaitiaki of really wonderful, powerful stories. So no, that whole thing is just, to me, it's old school. The whole art worldwide, globally, consuming of art and the exposure of art, it's changing. People are exposed to art in different ways, in different manners now, and that old school dealer gallery is I believe it's a dinosaur, and it's gonna go. White walls, indifferent person sitting behind, and the artwork, well, it just speaks for itself. Don't need any assistance. It is what it is, and you can tell by the price tag that it's it's good art.
I guess we try to be approachable. We don't want people to feel intimidated. And
No. And why would you? Like, I actually don't understand that.
Yeah, that you have to be dressed a certain way to come in. You have to know about art before you can come in the door, and you feel like you can't ask a question because you might look silly.
And a person will come into our gallery, and the person who comes into our gallery who can spend $100 will get the same level of respect and service as somebody who can spend 10,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
They are the same people.
I love that.
And you can't judge people. You can't see people coming in the door and judge them. You know, we don't do that. Because we've had instances where people will say, I can't afford that, and we'll offer a way of them being able to do it through a lay-by scheme or
and they'll eat, okay, that's it, I'm going to eat baked beans for 3 weeks.
We had a lady once who said, I was going to buy a new fridge, but I'm actually going to have this painting because I have to have this. You know, it's emotional connection.
I love the way you guys work. So good. And what do you expect from your artists in terms of professionalism and communication?
Okay, so it's a very good question. That I'd like to think our artists are authentic. So I would, again, I wouldn't like to see work that has been copied or plagiarized. That I would struggle with, and I have seen that, and I just really can't, accommodate that. Informed by and inspired by, but directly plagiarized, no, we just can't accommodate that. And in terms of professionalism, only recently have we had contracts with our artists, and that's been brought about by the government, the new laws that the government wants to, they want to get in on what are we actually doing, because the auction houses and galleries have been sort of, a bit of a mystery. What goes on there? Are you actually, do you own the work? Are you agents? So now we've had to come up with contracts. But prior to that, we haven't had contracts. The artists have trusted us and we've trusted them. If they want to exhibit somewhere else, that's fine. We have no issues with that. We don't say, you've signed a contract, you're only going to exhibit with us and we'll get 10% or whatever. We'll get the percentage of everything no matter what you do. No, we want people to be with us because they want to be with us. So we don't really sign them up, but we've had to do this contract thing because of GST and this paper trail that the IRD wants. But also from an insurance perspective as well.
And so you don't have any restrictions on where your artists show, like if they wanted to show in Devonport?
The thing is, it wouldn't be in their best interest to have their work in one gallery and have it in another one down the road anyway.
No.
They would be more likely to have it in a different city. We've advised artists to have their work in another gallery sometimes.
Oh, we have, yes. That goes back to what I said before. But in terms of sharing, well, we do share artists with Flagstaff Gallery, some artists, and that's okay. But generally, it doesn't seem like logical to do that because it's only 10 kilometres down the road. But again, it's about the relationship. Really, it is more about the relationship, rather than about where are you and what are you're doing, because the relationship comes down to we're not selling product. So, the artists that we share with Flagstaff Gallery have different work in Flagstaff to what they have with us. And sometimes they want to tell this particular side of them, their story, that this particular side they want to tell with us, that another gallery it isn't appropriate, or just so that's fine. We don't have any restrictions or tags on that. We're not that conceited, really.
And when you have the relationships that you do with your artists, it would be easier, I imagine, to actually have that conversation about, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
You know, would it work there, or and you know, and have that fluidity and that sort of great communication that you've already established.
Yeah.
Practically, there are things like we would really like it if artists brought work to us that was already strung, just practical rather than, sometimes work isn't. And
Yes.
Some of them can't tie knots.
We go to hang something and it's like, there's nothing to hang it by.
I can imagine that happens a bit.
Yeah.
And do you collaborate with them with things like framing and marketing and pricing? And do you feel like it's quite a collaborative approach?
We have a really
strong
opinion and experience about framing, and framing can make or break a work. It can put people off. And some artists have really strong opinions about framing, and they'll bring in a work framed, and I'll say, that's not going to sell with that frame. Honest, trust me, I know. Take it off, it sells. One artist in particular, I don't varnish my work. Can't stand varnish. He's going to laugh when he sees this. No, I don't varnish my work, because I don't like varnish. Okay, but if you did, what do you think it would do? I don't know, but it won't work. Well, how about you just try it on that one? Okay, so he varnishes it and I sell it, and then he starts varnishing all his work, and his wife said to him, "Just as well Mike told you to varnish them, eh?" No.
I love that, but again, it goes down to relationships and sort of where you can encourage your artists from what you believe in, because you have that connection.
We do it out of aroha as well. We try not to be big-headed and say we know everything about art and how to sell it and that. No, we don't. We're learning all the time. We're just keen. Yeah. Sometimes we have a feeling that we know that this will work. This, frame it this way, or don't frame it at all. Just leave it. Just don't frame it, and then they'll choose it or something like that.
People might want to choose their own frame.
Yeah.
I've had a look at your website, and I really like your website, which I think is quite newly designed. Is that right?
Yep, that's by April Rose. Yes.
Yeah, that's your daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks great. I really like it. And outlined on there is all the things that you do, which is great. And I was just looking at your exhibition program. So you have quite a packed exhibition program for each year. Can you talk to us about how you manage your exhibitions and how you work out where they're going to be placed in the year, and also who you decide to show and why?
So artists come up to us and say, I want to have a show. That generally is it. And I say, okay. And then I look at the calendar and I look at strategic parts of the year and try and fit them in around that. And usually that's done a year in advance. It's just, mostly everybody wants to have a show, and they'll work diligently on that show the year before. And then, then we'll have the show. And it's collaborative. But we occasionally get last-minute eddies who show up with wet paint.
People who work more under pressure and more last minute. It's the same as writing, I guess. Yeah. Anything creative.
Yeah.
Some people are very organised and work over a period of time, very disciplined about how they work towards a goal, and other people are more...
fly by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people need some help and guidance. Some people need to know how to tie a knot. But generally we have great... we have, on the whole, a lot of fun with these exhibitions. And it's lovely, because the thing is, you see, artists have, no matter what size studio, some people, I go down to their houses. I tend to want to go to their places and see where they create the work, because that really is so.
That's a lot of fun.
It's fun and it's insightful, and you can see, gosh, how did you paint that? Well, how did you create that? There, I've got sculptors who work in like a glorified wardrobe. Painters who work in a porch,
kitchen
or
table.
a kitchen, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and then artists who have this massive, expansive studio, and they create little small pieces. It's fascinating, but it's fair to say that every artist has no idea what their exhibition is going to look like. They'll create this body of work, but it's not until they get it up on the wall and they go, oh my God, that's what I've done. And they always are surprised, because yes, it is collaborative, the hanging of the creation of the hanging of the exhibition. But my word is it. I decide where it's hung.
Depends on the artist,
no,
really.
that's not true.
You get the final word.
I get the final word. No, I'm a designer, and I just have this sense, and sometimes I know that doesn't look right there. Yeah. And that doesn't work with that. And sometimes they'll listen to me, and sometimes they won't, and they'll go ahead and they'll hang it, and okay, fine, you hang it that way. And then, next week, they're not in the gallery, I'll hang it the way it should be hung.
Really? But that's your prerogative as the gallerist.
It's collaborative. You don't
really do that.
I know, but
occasionally
we just know the vibe. We know the vibe of our gallery,
and it will be the right decision.
Yeah. And you've got mostly your artists have a solo show, and you might have that show going for 1 month or 2 months. Is that right?
No. 4 weeks is maximum.
Okay.
And we also do collaborative shows. So the fundraising shows that we do, they will also go for 4 weeks, and that's when we say we have a particular charity that we really feel strongly about. And we say to our artists, would you be interested in being part of a group show? And that's really cool. That's really cool, because generally the artists share. It's not just about them wanting to show their work, but also they share in that particular importance of that charity. Yeah.
And it's fun to set a theme and then just see how everyone responds to that.
Yeah.
To set a title or an image or something. And
so there's always a theme for a group show.
It's not always. But it generally has been in the past. The last exhibition I can think of was War Child. We decided that, and this may be the next group exhibition that we have. There's a charity in the UK called War Child that we feel really passionate about. It's a charity that we got to know about, that 95% of the funds they raise goes directly to children affected by war. We've been physically to see them after we did this fundraising show. We took the money we raised, we physically took it. We didn't want any banks getting their mitts on it or charging interest or anything. We converted the money and we took it directly to them in London, and we didn't meet the CEO, but we saw where the CEO's desk was, which was literally in this almost in the same room as the lady that we dealt with.
Very little admin costs. They keep their cost to a minimum.
So they on a smell of an oily rag, and we know the money was going directly to that. And so we had this show, and it was called I Am a Child, and we basically asked our artists to say, hey, what was childhood like for you? What can you remember about childhood, and what could you create about that? It was such a cool exhibition,
It's amazing,
because we had 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and 70-year-olds coming up with works about their childhood and what they felt childhood should be about, and it was a real eye opener. was lovely.
Good. It's fun.
The people who purchased the works, they didn't just buy it because of the charity. They also go, oh, I remember that as well. And
Nostalgic.
nostalgic. Yeah. It was good.
The artists are there and they meet one another, which doesn't always happen very often, and they can have a conversation, get to know one another. It's quite inspiring, really.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think group shows are great, and the way the works talk to each other often adds another sort of dimension in a way to what you're doing. And that's a beautiful theme for a show, I Am a Child. I think that's great. And, talking about sort of gallerists never being super rich, why is it that you've decided to sort of contribute to charities? Why do you feel strongly about that?
Well, we felt strongly about War Child because of what we were witnessing. We felt strongly about I Am Hope, which is Mike King's. We've done 2 exhibitions for his charity, the Blind Foundation. These are things that... It's
important to give back. It's important to contribute something to something so important.
Yeah. Amnesty International was our daughter, but that was cool because we wanted to do a charity show, and we chose Amnesty. Partly she suggested it, but she's a poet, and she invited poets to participate, and it was such an amazing show. And we wrote in white pen, we wrote the Human Rights Charter on the window of the gallery in Devonport. And the Amnesty International was the benefactor of the show, and we wrote the whole charter on the window.
Declaration of
Human Rights. And that was really important for us. The exhibition was really quite powerful. And it was also quite controversial because one section of the human rights, we wrote on the outside of the window in white pen, we wrote the charter, and one section, when we had the show the next morning, one section of it was rubbed out.
Really?
The right for people to be refugees if they wanted to leave an environment. That was rubbed out. And we just wrote it back, straight back up again.
It happened a couple of times, and I just went out and rewrote it. It was interesting. It was quite an interesting exercise.
It was polarizing, eh?
Yeah. That's interesting, but also quite sad that people would, have that opinion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, in Devonport.
Yeah.
It's the Declaration of Human Rights. You can't argue with that, really.
No, exactly.
It's a foundation of how we should be behaving towards one another.
Yeah. Oh, I have a lot of admiration for what you guys are doing in that way. It's pretty unique. It's another unique thing about your ethos, which is really nice to hear about. Thank you. So, back to business. What are some of the logistical challenges that you face in owning and running a gallery?
The most challenging thing is the financial side of things sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It's been a really tough year.
Totally unpredictable. You never know if you're going to sell anything from one week to the next, and sometimes it's quite challenging. Other times it's going well, because you do feel a whole big responsibility for your artists as well, for selling their work, and they sometimes they do question, I haven't sold anything all year, and it's nothing to do with the work. It's just that things are a bit tough.
We're in a recession, so, and how do you sell art in a recession? And that's often a question that people ask, so that's a challenge.
It's interesting how when things are often the most challenging, suddenly, and we start to question how things will go, and that you get to that point, and then something will sell, something will happen to make things.
You have to have a faith, and that we have a faith in ourselves, but we have a faith in what we're doing, and that's tested all the time. That's the thing about faith, isn't it? But we feel that what we're doing is important, and we get these little glimpses of why it's important, and it may not always be financial. Logistical challenges. I'm often hanging on a ladder with 1 foot and spread star eagle trying to hang something for somebody because that's adding value. So I won't charge for that if they've bought this work and now can you hang it up there 4 feet up and 14 feet up in the air in a stairwell. Yeah, balance a chair and a table because this person's paid, $5,000 or $6,000 for this work, and I don't think it's right that I charge them for that. So logistical, yeah, I'm still able to do that at this age.
That's good.
And we go the extra mile. We'll travel. I've just delivered 4 works to an elderly couple who are moving into a retirement villa in Aotearoa, and I said. And some of them, one of the works was really fragile. And they said, just wrap it up and we'll get the courier company to deliver it. And then they told me who the courier company was and said, no, I'll deliver it. And I won't charge you. And they went, what? You'd sew all the way in Aotearoa? I said, yeah, but you're good clients. And I'll fit it in with another trip. And it was really cool to do that because they're just really elderly people and really nice, but they've supported our gallery in Takapuna, and it's the least I could do. So I don't see that as a challenge. Yeah. But where Aotearoa is? Crikey, as a drive.
That's a way.
Can't always do that kind of thing, but if we can, and if we can combine it with something else as well, we'll say, well, look, we were thinking of going there, so we'll drop it into you on the way. Or
which is amazing. And do you feel like, with the financial worries and sort of challenges that you would have faced a lot, sort of in peaks and troughs, I suppose, over the last, more than 20
absolutely.
years? Do you find that you're sort of getting a little bit better at handling the troughs, or does it never really get easier?
No, this year has been really tough, really, really tough. And our first accountant was a personal friend of ours. When I told him I was leaving the massive salary and advertising, he said, do you want to see somebody professional? Hey, what are you doing, Mike? I can recommend somebody. No, mate, no, it's all good. This isn't about that. And he was our accountant for, wow, how long? 10 or 15 years at least. And I still swear he doesn't get us, and he's passed on to somebody else.
He was great, really. And he said, I know you guys aren't going to listen to this, but you should be thinking about your retirement. You
should be doing this. You should be doing that.
Yeah.
But I know you guys aren't going to. I know who you are, so it's fine.
Yeah. And the thing is, we've talked about this quite a bit. I was actually talking to Scott Laurie about this as well. Important work, and I've often talked about that point of view in regards to what I'm doing with the podcast. Sometimes doing important work that contributes to even just one person personally, or to society, or to your local area, or to a group of people, or to a community. I think if you can be on your deathbed and you feel like you've done some important work, and it's not about the money you're making to me, then you've lived a good life.
You've made a difference.
Yeah.
Made a difference. And if you've made a difference in one person, and it's in a positive way, then what better thing to leave this mortal coil with, So we take it as an honor, that what we do, I'm grateful that we're doing it. I'm grateful that
living in this little shoebox of a house.
It is special. It's not a job. It is a vocation. The people that we have around us, they're just the most amazing people, and you see so many different aspects of what it is to be human. That I think people should be envious of what we do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk on Creative Connections, both of you. And Linda, I'm so thrilled that you are brave enough to come on as well. It's lovely to have you both here. And I really appreciate what you've shared today. I think I was just saying, you're probably going to have 100 artists at your door wanting to be part of what you've created because it is so amazing. And I can't wait to come in and meet you both in person and see your gallery once I'm home. So thank you so much for your honesty and for what you're doing with the artist community and further afield. I think you're both amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you very much, Mandy. And I'm really glad that after like you say, the year or so that we've been talking, that we managed to do this. I really think it's fascinating what you're doing and what you're giving to back to the community and to all these artists that you've interviewed, that give people an opportunity to see behind what they see in galleries and that. And it's been really easy talking to you. Natural.
I was very nervous, and you are very easy to talk to and very friendly, and it's just been a nice experience.
We look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Bye for now.